It looks like a tornado over there. I'm sure it's not, but bizarre. Everything squelches. Well, there's a great example of the rain we've had. This is a newly formed dew pond, because basically the water can't run away anymore. There's nowhere for it to go. So, oh, he'll be straight in there. He can resist water. Some people tell me their pugs are very finicky when it comes to water. They won't get their feet wet. Him, I'm surprised that's only as far as he's gone. Normally he's straight in there. Hello again. Now, as I've explained in previous videos, I've always been a little bit of a forager my whole life. Growing up where I did down in Cornwall, I used to go out quite a lot for walks with my dad and my maternal grandfather. And they went out shooting rabbits and pigeon and woodcock and snipe and all sorts of things. And that would end up on the table. That's what we ate. But what they'd also do as they were walking along is they would look at the plants that were growing around them, and they'd be picking wild garlic and three-cornered leek and lots of other things. And over the years, I picked up some of those habits. I picked up some of that knowledge. Here's one of the very first things I learned to forage as a kid. What in Cornwall we used to call fuzzy bush. It's gorse, of course, and gorse flowers are fabulous. They smell of coconut if you stick your nose right in amongst them, but Dad used to have us out picking gorse flowers because he would use them to make wine and a kind of fizzy gorse drink like gorse champagne. And here's another. This is wild sorrel, quite young wild sorrel. It can look a little bit like lords and ladies, which is poisonous. Okay, so here's sorrel at the bottom and here's lords and ladies at the top. Yes, there is a huge size difference here, but when lords and ladies first starts coming up, well, the first thing is it comes out of the ground rolled up, like someone rolling their tongue, and then it unfolds, and you can get smaller leaves than this. And sorrel does get about twice, maybe 3 times as big as that sometimes, but there's still quite a big size disparity. The second thing is look at the patterning of the leaf on the lords and ladies. Nothing like what you get on the sorrel. Nothing at all, look. No comparison. So you shouldn't really ever mistake the two for each other. And on the other side it's very different as well, if I turn it over. Because on this side, as you can see, there is a central vein, but you've got this very distinctive cracked pattern, almost like it's been porcelain cracked. Whereas on the underside of sorrel, nothing like that, nothing at all. So there you go. Wow, it looks like Jurassic Park under there. There's several different types of fern and all these lovely elders, and what else have we got here? Hawthorns, all completely covered in moss. It's glorious, isn't it? Isn't it lovely? Look at that big fern through there, look. This is wonderful. Well, it's very damp as well. And some of the earliest photographs of me are me standing with my dad and my granddad holding a bunch of dead things on a string, such as these. I think these are snipe. So what I decided is to put these walks to good use. Apart from getting some weight off and getting a little bit fitter and healthier, I thought, well, it'll be a good idea to build my knowledge back up. So the first task I set myself was to be able to identify any tree. It's not as easy as you think. You see, there are plenty of obvious ones, like this oak tree. Now, it's a bit harder this time of year because there aren't many leaves, but you might find the odd, you know, dried leaf on there. And on the particular example here, this one's covered in oak galls. There's 2 there, there's 1 there, there's another one a little bit further down. So that tells me that's an oak. But things aren't so easy when you're trying to tell the difference between, say, a goat willow and a crack willow, or where you're trying to tell the difference between all the different types of evergreens. I needed a bit of help. This was the book I bought. What's That Tree? Dorling-Kindersley book. Really, really good. There's like a little visual recognition bit in the back, but there's a lot more detail about all the individual types of tree and different types of leaf and nut and flower, etc. further on. So that was a really, really good buy, and that's quite a lot of use. The other book I started taking out, as you can probably see from how tattered it is, I've had this book probably about 15-20 years, is this one here. It's the very wonderful Food for Free, written by Richard Mabey, which I've got the larger version of the book at home, but this is the little pocket edition. So handy for identification. And between those two books, I pretty much got to identify everything I wanted to identify. So, you know, if there was any two books I'd say to you to go out and get if you're thinking about starting foraging or getting to know the countryside better, these two would be a good start. And it is really, really important you do your homework. I mean, I did a previous video all about the carrot family, for example, where some members of the carrot family, you know, things like cow parsley and chervil and hogweed and things like that are very, very tasty. But other members of the family, such as, you know, hemlock and hemlock water dropwort, I'm sure you've heard those names before, they will kill you. They're some of the most poisonous plants in the UK, and they all look worryingly similar. This is why I say get a good book, because it will point out those little identification features, and then you don't make the mistakes, and then you don't get poorly, and then what you get is a really tasty lunch.
I'm not sure what that is. Good lord. What a strange looking aircraft. I've no idea what that is. No idea what that is at all. Bizarre.
Yeah, the fields are a little bit wet. Toodle pip.